Hi all, welcome to PR Learnings. This is part 3 of Azure interview question answer series. Today also we will see 10 more questions. So before starting the video, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe and support. So let's start the session. So today's first question is, what kind of logic app have you used? Give me some integration scenario. This is like difference between consumption and standard logic app only. I am repeating these questions because I just wanted to tell you that it's very, very important questions. Like almost every interview, you will definitely get this question. So just make a note of it, like difference between standard and consumption logic app. Or if you had worked on only consumption or only standard logic app, that is also fine. I think most of the projects will have both the logic apps, right? So this is one of the important questions, like difference between standard and consumption. I had made already video on this, like separate video. You can check it out. So I don't explain this again. You can check that. I will give that in description box. So next question, how did you deploy a logic app into different environments? So in my case, I had used ARM template and using Azure DevOps, using CI/CD pipeline. I had deployed all the logic apps into different environment like dev, test, and prod. If you had used some other repository or another DevOps tool, that also you can mention. So in Azure DevOps, like deploying a logic app into different environments can be done effectively using ARM templates, Azure DevOps, or other CI/CD pipelines. So steps will be like create CI/CD pipeline. In Azure DevOps, we have to create pipeline for the development deployment, and after that we have to create build pipeline. Like commit the ARM template and parameters to a source control repository, which is your source repository. Ask to validate the ARM template. So after that, we need release pipeline to deploy the code changes. For that, create stages for each environment like dev, test, prod, or any other branch if you have, and add an Azure resource group deployment task. Point to the ARM template and pass the appropriate parameter file for the target environment. And I think this question is not that much important, and most of the companies will have a separate DevOps team to deploy the things. So you can just explain briefly like how you have done. After this, like I got once I explained this and I got question also, like end to end flow. Can you explain from developing the logic app and changing some or adding some features to the logic apps, after that committing the code and deploying to the different environment, that flow also they may ask. So you can just to make briefly make a note of it, like how did you deploy logic app to different environments. I don't think we need detailed explanation like how to create YAML file and all. This is enough, like creating and building pipeline and all and deploy. So next question, do you know what structure logging is? Yes, structure logging is a logging practice where log messages are include formatted in a way that includes clearly defined fields and values. Structure logging, as name suggests, like logging will be in a structured format. So that we can clearly understand, like easily understand the logs in the resources. So making them easily searchable, filterable, and analyzable by a machine or logging tools. Structure logging is nothing but log messages will be in a certain format, like a fixed format, so that it will be easier to search or filter or analyze that log messages. If anything any error comes, or if we need any information about the process which happened, so it will be easier because it will have some structured format. So key features of structure logging, I already mentioned. Field based logging, logs consist of key value pairs rather than a plain text. So first feature will be like field-based logging. We can define logging in any format, right? You can just write a string message also, like message, and an occurred while processing the order, an error occurred while processing the order, or something, whatever the related log messages. You can just write a string messages also. But once some error happens, or once you want to check that logs, then it will be very difficult. You can't filter, like you don't you will not know that what is the format or which keyword you can use, right? So field based logging will be very helpful in that case, so that structure logging will be good practice. So here nothing but like a JSON format only, like whatever the information you need you can just add, and this is a label you can add, error, info, or warning, whatever you want based on the requirements. So that if we go to some logging tools, or like logging tools like Splunk or any other, there you can just filter. If you want some errors, like label is equal to error, if you put, then all the error part will be displayed, so that it will be easier to analyze. Or you can add like order id and user id filter also. This you can dynamically fetch from the logic app, right? By adding javascript like expressions. So order id if you put, then it will be easier to filter or find out the error. So field-based logging is the one of the features, and improved querying and filtering. That already discussed. Like logging platforms like Azure Monitor, Splunk allows filtering logs based on the fields such as order ID and user ID. So once user tells that this order has been failed, can you check? Then you can just put that order ID as a filter. Then level is equal to error. Then it will be easier, right? You will get all the related messages to that particular order ID. And log consistency. Each log entry follows a predictable structure which simplifies debugging and analytics. So if we have one format, then it will be easier, like consistency will be maintained. If each log entry follows some proper structure, so everybody can understand easily, analyze easily, so it will be easier only. In Logic App, how structure logging happens, In Azure Logic App, structure logging happens through the use of tracked properties, built-in diagnostic settings, and integration with centralized logging solutions like Azure Monitor, Application Insights, or Log Analytics. So I had used tracked properties, so I can explain that. One more thing, we had one separate API to push all the log details in a. So that API was expecting one format and fields. That is one of the way to maintain the logging. So tracked properties are custom key value pairs you define within actions in your logic app. So this feature will be there in the action only, like logic app actions. If you go to actions, then settings, there you will find tracked properties. So these allows you to log additional contextual data for specific actions. Each specific action you can define tracked properties. So example, if we see adding tracked properties in a logic app designer, select an action, like which action, if we want to add tracked properties, that action we need to select, then click add tracked properties. Then specify the custom fields. Usually we can we will give primary key only, like order id, user id, or status. Like primary key such as like order id, user id, or like status, or error level. If we give these kind of information, then it will be easier to track the error. Okay. So this data is then included in the run history and diagnostic log, enabling the structured analysis. So once you add track the properties in that action, like example, if we consider order ID, if we add, then once the logic app runs, these order ID information will be included in that run history. So that while analyzing the logs, like log analytics workspace, if you go, while querying, you can just give order ID is equal to 12345. So those information will come and you can analyze it easily. This is the structure logging in logic apps. Next question. What is the use of stateful logic app? Why do we choose which one? So Azure Logic Apps can operate in stateful or stateless modes, and the choice between the two depends on the specific requirements such as like performance, durability, and logging needs. This also had already made one video on this topic, like stateful and stateless. You can check it out. Again, I won't explain here. So next question, what is the difference in developing methodology in standard logic app and logic app? This is also same like the difference between standard and consumption logic app. You may think I why I am repeated this question, but I just wanted to tell that it's a very important question. So it's a like repeated question. So next question. Stateful and stateless logic app. Yeah, it's already I had covered. You can check that video. I will add in the description box also. And next question, APIM. APIM is also one of the important topics. So, what is APIM? Briefly explain about that. So, Azure APIM is a fully managed service provided by Microsoft to help organizations securely expose their APIs to internal and external users. It acts as a gateway for API traffic, offering essential features for managing, monitoring, and securing the API effectively. So, what you can explain, I feel like if they ask what is API and briefly explain, then you can just give a definition of that. What is APIM, and you can explain the key components of APIM. So let's see. APIM is a critical tool for building API-centric architecture and supports integration with other Azure services like functions, logic apps, and event grid, making it a powerful choice for cloud-native applications. So you can give a definition briefly, and after that, components you can explain. So key components of APIM is first one API gateway. So API gateway serves as the entry point for the API traffic. Gateway acts as a, you know, right, like gateway. So acts as a entry point for all the API traffic and handles traffic routing, rate limiting, caching, authentication, and protocol translation. So gateway acts as an entry point and it will handle almost all the things like traffic routing, which API needs to be called, and rate limiting, like caching, authentication, security, and all handled by API gateway. And second point will be developer portal, a customizable platform for API customers to explore, test, and learn about value available APIs. You can test and you can test and work around the API by using developer portal, explore, test, and learn about available APIs, and provides API documentation also, like sample code and support for subscription management. This developer portal, it's like a workaround. Next one, publisher portal, like management plane, used by API administrators to manage APIs, policies, security configurations, and analytics. Allow adding new APIs, defining access rules, and tracking API usage. So here you can configure all the API related things like policies, security configuration, and all, and adding new API also, like who can access that API by defining the rules and tracking API usage also. That and all will be done by publisher portal. Last one, backend services. This represent the actual implementation of APIs, like Azure Functions, Logic App, or any REST or HTTP service. Backend services is like actual implementation of APIs. Usually, I had used Azure Functions only as an API in my project. So Logic App also you can use, or any other REST HTTP services if you use. The natural representation will be in backend services. And APM acts as an intermediary between API consumers and these services. So what is APM actually? It acts as an intermediary between that API consumers and backend services, like actual implementations. So features of APM, what is that? Like policy management, security, rate limiting and throttling, analytics and monitoring, multi-protocol support. These things are done by APIM only. So it will be easier to expose our APIM. No need to worry about authentication, security and all, right? Like rate limiting and all. All the things will be done by in APIM easily. That is the advantage of API and features of APIM. So benefits, that like scalability, centralized management, improved security, ease of use. Okay. So one, if they ask what is APIM, briefly explain. Then first point will be definition, and after that key components, and after that features of APIM and benefits of APIM. These 4 5 points you can mention. Then it will be okay. So, what is the inbound policy for managing traffic with respect to APIM? This question also they may ask, like inbound policy and what is outbound policy and all. So in Azure API management, inbound policies are configurations applied to incoming API requests before they are forwarded to the backend service. So what is exactly in inbound policy? So inbound policies are configurations applied to incoming API request before going to that backend particular backend service, backend implementations. These configuration will be applied, like for example, like security or like authentication and all, it will be applied in the policies, inbound policies, so that it will reach proper backend services, or who all are have access, they are only can see, they can only see the request. These policies help in managing, transforming and securing traffic at the entry point of the API gateway. API gateway is entry point, right? In API gateway only, like policies will be defined. Okay, that will help in like security of API, or um, managing and transforming the APIs. How it works? Inbound policies are defined in the policy definition section of an API or API operation in the API service. They are processed sequentially, transforming and validating the request step by step. Once all inbound policies are applied successfully, the modified request is sent to the backend service. So I already made on one video on this, like API policy, how to define the policies, and how to update the policies, how it will route to backend services. You can check it out. I will add in the description box. So this is about inbound policy. Next question: how to publish an API in APIM? So steps will be, first we need a API management instance that will be there, and import or create an API. We can import also or create also. Usually we will go in import mode only, right? So define, after that we need to define the operations, the HTTP methods like get, post, put, delete, which API we want to import, and test. After once it's imported or like created, then test the API. There only in the API portal only we can test the API. So after that, configuration policies. This is optional. Means if we need any policies, then we can define the policies. Mainly security authentication policy. Definitely we will add. So after that, we need to publish the API and share the API to the end user. Okay, this video also I had already made like a demo. You can check it out. So subscription key name in default security in APIM. What will be the subscription key name? OCP APIM subscription key. This I rarely, like one time I got this question, so I had included. And last question will be products in APIM. So in Azure API management system, products are key feature used to group and manage the API. Like it's a collection of API. Products means a collection of API. Like we need, if we need certain APIs are used by certain customer, you can group that API and give access to that particular customers only. So it will help in a grouping of APIs. They serve as a containers for one or more APIs and are designed to facilitate access control, subscription management, and policy application. So you have a group of similar APIs, and that needs to be accessed by only like customer A, and some other group is there that needs to be accessed by customer B. So you can just group that APIs by using products and give access to that customer A itself, so that like customer B will not see that API list, right? So facilitate access control and subscription management and policy application. So products will help to achieve this. So key features of products. What is that? Grouping APIs and access control, subscription management, policy application, visibility, and customer configuration. These are all the features of products. This is for today's session. I will upload this document or like questions in my Telegram channel. Please follow that. I will add in the description box. And thank you for watching. Bye bye. Take care. All the best.